Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are watching us from. Welcome to Shifting from Grudge to Grit, Grace, and Gratitude. I think we are all. Oh gosh, I see we have a bit of a delay there.
Ooh,
Can you hear
it's
that?
me. I make things glitch. It's me. My car broke down yesterday. It just stopped.
Do you know what's so funny? I'm hearing myself there. I'm hearing myself twice.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me twice?
No, just
This is
once. I do this to StreamYard too.
Let's see. Let's see what's going on. Anyway, let's continue. For
Okay.
those that are joining us on Instagram and YouTube, thank you for your comments and your engagement week in, week out. Let's welcome our guests.
Did you hit that noise canceling bit?
Do you know what, Holly? This is insane. I'm freaked out. This is the
It's
first time.
because of me. I'm so sorry. I'm telling you, I fry electronics, and we were just getting along and having the best conversation offline. If I hit mute, do you want to see if it's actually coming from me? I'm going to try. Let's try.
Okay, I'm going to try and do this regardless. But you're not hearing me twice. Anyone else that's joined us, please can you kindly type in the comments if you're hearing an echo, because I'm finding this bizarre that I have to hear myself.
So can you lower the lowering the volume? I'm not the best tech savvy.
Okay. I
Here,
can't
we'll do a
end
little
this.
energy. We'll just get the echo to go away. Go, echo, go.
Okay, so let me introduce our beautiful guest. This week we're going to be talking about from struggles to strength, rising above life's storms. Life throws challenges our way, from natural disasters, heartbreak, to career pivots. These moments don't define us. Do you know what I did? I took Instagram away. I think it was Instagram. So
Bye,
sorry,
Instagram.
Instagram followers. We will have to get you to watch the recording, but there is no way that I could continue this conversation.
I was like, you were doing really well. I mean, I made sure because usually with StreamYard, my mic gets temperamental and I usually
Yes.
hear echoes, but I don't have any of that this time. So
Wonderful. So let's start again.
yeah,
From
let's.
struggles to strength. How apt is the topic today? So let's think about, if you've gone through your life's toughest moments, how have you turned those opportunities for growth or healing and joy? A little bit about Holly. Holly is a TEDx speaker, an award-winning author, and an intuitive healer. Okay. We needed some of that intuitive healing and stuff to come through. You may have heard her voice on one of the hundreds of podcasts or networks she's contributed to. Drawing inspiration from her journey, Holly channels her life experiences and utilizes her special gifts to offer unique guidance and healing, specializing in navigating emotional pivots and life transitions. She firmly believes that one's past is not a defining factor, but an integral part of their story, allowing individuals to shape their future. Holly employs a compassionate, step-by-step process to empower clients to reclaim their voices, pursue their passions, and recognize their self-worth. Her book, Real, Not Perfect. Oh, I'm loving that. How to Become Your Happy. Yes, I see it in the back there. Authentic self serves as a transformative guide, encouraging individuals to break free from societal expectations and uncover the version of themselves they aspire to be. Holly's mission is to inspire others to embrace authenticity and live live a fulfilled life on their terms. She provides coaching and consulting through her specialized Real, Not Perfect Academy. Oh gosh, this is so intriguing. And individual healing sessions. When she's not helping others live the life they dream about, you may find her dancing, listening to K-pop, or planning a next trip to Seoul. Oh my word, do tell me more. I am intrigued, darling.
I mean,
Where did
which
you
part?
start?
Which part?
So we don't get to this level of joy and,
Hmm.
strength and happiness and contentment if we haven't gone through the struggles. So just
Yeah.
like in the hero's journey, where did you first receive a quest to an adventure and may have declined it, refused it? It eventually decided you have to take this call.
It's fascinating. I think I've had a lot of loss in my life, like big losses, not like little ones, although my cat is now joining us.
Hello, what's her name?
That one is Smudge.
Smudge. Hello, Smudge.
Smudge. He's very mischievous.
Oh,
I
he is.
think in my life, I've lost my home twice, once to a fire, once to an earthquake. Those aren't small losses. It's like you were mentioning that you were preparing to move. Imagine a life like where you thought was safe being erased, and there's no safety in that space. And when you go back to rebuild, the things that you thought you needed aren't there. Where do you start? Right?
Yeah.
That is really what I've been through. I've had multiple miscarriages. I know what it's like to want to be a parent and not be able to do it the way or how I thought I would. Right. So I've had that. I've had, I don't know, like I really think I had a conversation with God before I was born. We were having a cocktail and a cigarette, because that's how I imagine it, just like, and we're like, and I was like, let's take on some karma. I would like to clear my karma with this person and that person. I want to feel hurt and betrayed. Also, I can rise above and keep moving. My mom says when I was young, I used to say, why me? Right? Right. And I think when I hit my 40s and I learned to control my intuitive gifts, because I always had them, I just didn't know that you didn't, right? Because it was my normal. I don't know how you perceive the world. And when I really honed in and can control it, I was like, oh, maybe in my 60s, when I'm done writing and I'm done doing all these other things, I'll open an office and I'll help people. And then it was literally the next morning, a friend of mine is like, are you looking for an office space to share? Someone I know is looking to share an office. And I said, okay. And I just think it was divine alignment that I said, okay, I'll do it. And that's why I chose to kind of start helping people with like the gifts that I have. Because if I could get through it, if I could heal, and I know that I could survive all of the feelings of it, then I know for sure that others can too.
Holly, it's like sitting in the mud like the lotus flower. It doesn't bloom into its full beauty and splendor unless it's been in that mud. And that's how it grows. So what your testimony of the multiple miscarriages, loss, it's in that grief state when we are forced to get still and truly reflect, are those material things important to us? Are we the accolades or the accomplishments or the goals that we're chasing in life? Are they truly aligned with our highest good to serve ourselves and others? And so I want you to touch on that around how did you then realize what was that one experience that was the turnaround for you? Because you've highlighted multiple losses.
It wasn't one. I think when I was young, I really was a people pleaser, right? My father is an alcoholic, and I grew up in a very he was intense. It's like the nicest way to put it, right? And volatile. And so you learn to read a room and you learn to be busy and you learn to not be trouble. That's how I processed it. I'll be a really good student. I'll be someone you can rely on. I'll be really good at what I do. When I was very young, my mom put me in ballet because I was born very pigeon-toed. I don't know if that's what you call it there too, where your feet kind of, okay.
Yes.
So back in the day, they did not know that that is from your hips. So they put me in ballet so I could learn to turn my feet this way. But dance became a place for me and continues to be a place for me where if I have emotions that I need to process and I need to get grounded and physical in dance, I am in the moment. So it's meditative, right? I am joyful. And if I have this extra emotion that I haven't quite figured out or I'm overwhelmed by, it gives me a physical way to process. Right. And I love all of those things. So like that all works for me. So there came a moment when I call it my starter marriage. I had one of those too in my 20s where I married a man who I thought if I loved him enough, he could become happy. Which is not, that can't happen. You know, his mother even told me not to marry him on the day of our wedding. So, you know, he was an unhappy person at best, but I knew unhappy men, right? So these are some of the patterns I help clients with. Like you're doing something, you know you're unhappy, but you can't not do it because it's what you know, even though what you know makes you unhappy. And how do we heal that moment in time or that emotional pattern where we can then change it? If you don't heal the pattern, it will show up at work.
Absolutely.
You will work with people who are going to belittle you in the same way or not see you in the same way. And then it's finding courage to have your voice. So at 28, very Saturn return, I was like, no. My father was a workaholic as well. So I worked in film and TV in Los Angeles at the time. I was working crazy hours and like doing all of that. And I was never part of like the LA scene though. I was just working really hard. And I was like, this isn't working. I don't know who I am. I can't make everyone happy. I keep giving everyone everything they needed. I am left empty. And I didn't even know. I become so disassociative that a woman I had hired as a production designer on a movie came up to me and she said, Holly, do you know that every day at 3:00 you cry? And I was like, what are you talking about? Go back to work. Like, what are you talking to me about? She's like, yeah, you cry. And here's the name of my therapist. I think you should go see her. I was like, what a lunatic, right? I just thought she was crazy. And then I set an alarm. And at 3:00, I went to the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I was crying. Like tears were coming. And I was so forcing doing what everyone else needed that I didn't know myself at all. Even though if I knew who I was, like if you met me, I was like this person, but far more neurotic, right? But I was so not connected to what I needed because my needs came last. I can handle it. I can keep secrets. I can make it look good. I can make you look good. That was far more important. And then I said no to that. And people call me brave, but I was brave enough to say, then what does it look like? All these goals I had of being like an Academy Award winning producer did it matter? Did that really make me who I am? Like nowadays, you must come across this a lot. Please tell me, like where people are like, if I don't have 50 million followers and if I don't have this and I don't have a brand deal, if I'm not monetizing my whole life, I'm failing. And that's the mindset and the empty spirituality that I really want to help break free. I think we need to raise the vibration of the planet. The politics here in the States is very divisive, but everyone's crying the same thing. They've gotten so used to outrage and shock that they don't know how to quiet. And I think each person, if we got a little quiet, we could better discern how they're trying to hook us. And then wouldn't we make better choices?
Holly, I feel like we've been sisters and we kind of just living in distant parts of the world, but I resonate with every single thing that you've said. I'm going to start at where you kind of, started sharing around the first husband. Before we continue, I forgot to mention our co-host Jamila is, I'm not sure if she's going to make it. She was at a doctor's appointment, nothing serious, but she was going to try and hop on, but I haven't heard from her. So we do hope she can join us. But if not, please apologies on her behalf if she does miss this conversation. Holly, I think she would have loved connecting with you as well. So let's start at the beginning. You spoke about when you're 60. Are you willing to share how young you are now?
I'm 56.
Uh-huh. I get people might think I'm a bit older because I'm very gray and I'm like silver fox, whatever you want to call it. But I call it version 4.5. I'm that upgraded version, and you are 5.6.
Mm,
Yes.
I am. I
So,
am.
did you remarry after that first husband, if I may
Hmm.
ask?
I did. I've been,
Okay.
we were together for like 24 years now.
Wow. Now, I actually want to start at that first marriage, and you mentioned something important, which I think is necessary for the audience to connect with that part. It's that conditioned beliefs and that programming and that narrative, because you attracted the very man that you wanted to win over his love or love him unconditionally so that he can be happier. Similar pattern to dad, who was this intense father, alcoholic. So I'm going to do everything that I please to please him so
Yeah.
that our relationship can be better. So I wanted to point that out for our audience that's listening in. Please do look at these family constructs or sibling constructs or
Hmm.
schooling, whatever these constructs that make up the system that underpins how we show up in this world, those patterns that tend to follow us. The other thing I want to say to you is I wish my client that was on the coaching this morning with me could be listening in, because she spoke about, yes, I agree,
Oh,
Toko.
thank
She looks
you.
amazing. Ah, thank you, Toko. Very complimentary. Toko Zile and I come a long way. I was their mentor many years ago. I'm giving my age away. I gave it away already. But bottom line is, when she was studying, but a very dynamic woman, and I'm so grateful to still be in touch with her. So thank you for your beautiful comment there, Toko.
I could tell by
I
her
want
picture she's got amazing intuition too. Can't you? I could just feel it looking at that photo.
And she is bright, dynamic, and her humility. Oh, I think she's going to make lots of change in this world. And so I hope you're still listening in. I can't wait to see the impact that you're going to have in this world, darling. So I now want to come back to the other part that you've mentioned. So every relationship seems to be a mirror for us as a catalyst to move into that next level of consciousness. But we are all so by design, we live in judgment. So we project that it's everyone else but us. So at what point did you discover what was yours to own and what was the other people that may have been in your life that did not serve you well, but has still become a gift for you nonetheless on your journey?
Yeah, I think every encounter, every loss has taught me a lot. I think I don't rarely look back.
Hmm.
I'm not a dweller that way. I'm a person enduring any sort of crisis of mine. I'm the person who will get everyone through. And then all the emotions will catch up to me like 2 weeks later, and I will be very sad. And then I will
Yes.
have to process. I'm wondering, let me see, if I think when I left my starter marriage, I realized that the way I was in the world wasn't working. In that I had stomach problems and I wasn't getting where I wanted and I wasn't being seen. And I had to get comfortable with that. And I think even being seen, like I love conversations. You and I, obviously we got along because people didn't see before, but like I love connecting, right? With and people and talking. But I often back down when it's a larger crowd because I'm an introvert and it's a lot of, for me, it takes a lot out
Yeah.
of me. And I recently reconnected with a woman I had gone to university with, and we were in journalism together, and she became a big broadcaster here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered her and I said, "Oh, what I remember about you is that you were really smart, really like okay with being seen, and she just was an ass kicker, right?" So she said, "What I remember about you is you were really wicked smart, really caring person. You cared about everyone around you." She's like, and you always, right at the last minute, would step back and let someone else come in,
Mm.
right? Right, and that hearing that now, I was like, wow. I think even to this day, I have a little bit of that because I still like to mentor and help people. And what you do with the help and what a client does with whatever, I don't have an agenda for that, which makes me a good healer. Like you go at your time, how can I help you? Let's do that. And in the meantime, I still want to probably get comfortable standing alone and just being looked at. Will you
Mm.
hear me when I speak the way that feels good to me? I don't know what corporate America, what corporate like people are
South
like,
Africa.
but I don't speak that language and I feel like they're all liars. And it's very hard to walk into spaces where everyone has their corporate avatar on. I do believe that you can be the genuine piece of your soul on the planet at work and be professional. But I don't think you have to deny who you are. And I would throw
Mm.
that as a challenge to anyone listening and see
I
what
could
that
not.
stirs up.
No, definitely. I echo the same sentiment because in my line of work, I also coach entrepreneurs and executives and CEOs. And I almost feel there's like a persona that they think that they need to show up as. And I find it's disconnected and it's disjointed. In fact, often I tell entrepreneurs, if you're going to come to me for coaching and you only want business coaching, I am not your coach. We will never match. We will never align. I concluded a coaching partnership now with somebody, and she said to me, when I got into this, and she's not she works in the wellness space actually, and she's a therapist. She said, I came in here with this idea of how this is going to go, but this was nothing how I thought it was going to go. And the reason being, and Holly, I think you are an advocate for authenticity and keeping it real and being imperfectly perfect. I mean, your
Mm,
book's title, I haven't read your book, but it certainly speaks volumes. Why can we not show up as our authentic selves, flawed in whichever way possible? Because we were never designed to be perfect or infallible. So I am, in fact, I know you did a TEDx talk as well. I recently only did my TEDx talk, and it was also about how do we fall in love with our inner villain? Because
mm,
that shadow side of us has served us, right? And it will continue to serve us. And people always are saying ego is a bad thing, but ego is your messenger. If you can leverage what ego can do for you, it's not taking it to the next level of being aggressive and being like you need to be the loudest voice in the room, as an example, or you need to always have the answer. But when you are triggered, the ego becomes that lesson when we're not in alignment, right? When we're not in truth.
Yeah, or if
So, I
your
mean,
ego is is triggered, like you're saying, it's probably a boundary needs to be put in place. You're not in the place you need to be. You need to advocate for yourself. There is a K-pop, because we already mentioned that I'm into that. So the band is called Epic High, and there's a line in one of their songs, and it says, "I'm on my villain arc." And every time I play that in my car, I'm like, like I get into it. Not meaning that you're a bad person, but someone who is going to stand up for themselves. There's a thing in Chinese dramas and C-dramas, they in their fantasy series, they have
yeah,
they always have in the heavenly people and the demons, but their demons
yeah,
I usually get along with better. Like when I look at them, it's just that they are honest. And all the hypocrites, there's jealousy, there's all of that in the heavenly realm, but they're not
mm,
honest. And in the demon realm, they're like, yeah, no, this is okay. One of the most difficult things for me to process when I had left my starter marriage was I had this emotion that I could not define and I was afraid of. And I was having a panic attack. And back in the day, my therapist was trying to get me to say the word anger,
mm,
because my father owned anger. My father was full of rage, and I would never be that. I won't be
yeah.
like that. But now I'd like to tell you I have a healthy temper. It takes a lot to make me mad, but when I'm mad, there's really nothing you can do to undo it. There really isn't.
Oh my
Like,
God.
it would take time to rebuild trust, but if you break it, because I've given you multiple opportunities, 3, tried conversation, but no, if we get past that point, then I'm done. I'm just done.
You are such a breath of fresh air because, I mean, who the hell doesn't have anger? And who said it's unhealthy? It's damn healthy to have anger. Otherwise, what happens to that anger? What happens to the emotion?
Yeah,
Where
you
does it
stuff it
go?
down. You need antidepressants, you drink, you eat, you are satisfying different needs, right? You're just going to transfer it to something else. So we can't even look at ourselves anymore without a filter, right? Right?
No.
Right? Aging is
Listen,
hard. I
number
admit it.
one,
Yeah. It is hard because you know what? You're still you, but your body aches a
yeah.
lot more. It doesn't mean I don't do all the things I love and whatever. But when beauty is peddled to the degree it is peddled now, which is even more than back in the day, right?
It's
That,
insane.
getting this part of my face, or like seeing my neck wrinkle, or 1,000 things that people who love me don't notice.
Yes.
But of course, I do, right? I do. Do I think
I
I'm
didn't
aging
hear
like
that.
that? It's
Oh, wait,
not
wait.
that. It's not that. But it
Holly,
is that you're like, ah.
what was that part? My bandwidth went away. What was the part where you say people don't know this about me? And then I missed that part.
Like on my own face, like, people who know me or love me, like they're not judging that I have, puffy line. I like laugh lines. I think they're sexy. Or like, I don't have
Uh-huh.
Botox. Right. That, like, I look human. I can't see when I do that. You're just a blur. So, but it is hard to age,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just hard. And I'm all for plastic surgery. So do whatever you want. But like, I still want to look like me.
But
Right? I
listen,
don't
you look darn good for version 5.6.
mm,
Let's
I
let's just call it.
5.6.
I mean,
I don't
you
think
the
I look
upgraded
bad.
version.
It's just you're in your head. I think in my head I stopped aging in my 40s,
Yeah.
right? At like
I
let's say 4.5. And then
I
and then you're
embrace
like
it.
11 years later, you're like, "What? How did that happen? What went on?"
And with the AI world that we're
Mm,
living in, and it's scary.
it is.
I I don't wear makeup often. In fact, I only started wearing makeup, Holly, because my 14-year-old daughter, who maybe 4 years ago started experimenting, and I was like, my 10-year-old's into makeup, and I can't stand this stuff. So the best thing that you see, I mean, I hate mascaras. I don't wear mascara. And I'll put something for the dark rings, yes,
Mm.
because yes, I am tired. I am a single mom of 3. My gosh,
You have three?
I'm yes,
Single
I
mom
have
of
3 of them.
three? Ooh,
Yes.
busy.
So
Busy.
I love this talk about keeping it real. Talk to us a little bit about this book. I'm intrigued. Why did you write this book? What is the core message you want to take to the world with this book?
Yeah, I want you to redefine yourself on your terms. So if let's just say we'll say a busy mom, however many children you have, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
guess that your life has got many calendars. And you
Mm.
have many meals and many schedules and many things to do, and their needs will come before yours. If you are in a relationship, you might have to balance that relationship with that. And then, oh my gosh, maybe you should exercise. Maybe you're doing that. Maybe you're not. Maybe all the maybes and all the things and the to-do list is forever. And then your conditioning of what a good woman is, what a good mother is, what a good, like
Yeah.
all of those things. If you have obligation to your extended family,
Mm.
do this at holidays and I have to gather you, but I have to get you from your sport, all of those things, let's just say. And then you work, let's not forget the working woman too. And then you have obligations at the job and deadlines or whatever. How much of the pie of that is you? So
Mm.
similarly to me at 28, saying I can't do it like this anymore. This book is for when you realize that your opinions maybe they're not yours anymore. Maybe
Mm.
you're always caregiving and you don't ever put yourself on the things or places or things to do. It could be just eating something you like, right?
Mm.
Like I'll cook for other people and it's not my favorite thing, but whatever. If you like it, I'll make it, right? It's easy to store. You could eat it all week if you know, whatever. So it really is for the person who's lost themselves. And it's a step-by-step process on how to reclaim your voice, your passion, and self-worth. I start with a very simple exercise, which is ask a friend, everyone listening or in replay, like let me know if you've done this in the comments. It would be ask a friend for 3 words that describe you. Ask a family member for 3 words that would describe you. And then
Yes, I'm
you
typing
write,
this.
good. And then you write 3 words that would describe you. Now, do any of them match? Do you feel aligned to how people see you, or are you just so used to being needed and you confuse your value with being needed?
Wow. That's like a mic drop.
That is.
I'm typing it in the comments
Oh,
here so
good,
that it
good.
stays.
Right? Because
Oh my
being
goodness.
needed is not yourself. That is conditioning. That can evolve. And at whatever pace you can, but being needed is not being seen. And so my book, it includes Holly's healing homework. I've written guided meditations. So it takes you very safely and as fast as you want to read a book. It's not that big because I want you to win and accomplish it, right? I want
Yeah.
you to be able to succeed in each thing, but I'm also going to poke you a bit. My husband calls it poking the bear. Is this the thing you're avoiding? Is this the thing you don't want to talk about? What are you afraid of? Because when you
Yeah.
tap into an honest emotion that you're running from, you're running for a reason.
Mm. Yes. I always say your triggers are your treasures. So go
Hmm.
there, find that treasure. I want to read one comment from one of our usual guests, and he's in Canada. His name is Ashif. He says, "Good day. Learning from real forced living is powerful realization. Simplicity of self-love and purpose is a finer path of living and giving." Ashif
Hmm.
is such a wise soul, and I would love for him to come on my segment, but he refuses. He just wants to participate. But we
Ah,
love his wisdom that he shares with us, right?
it's deep in him. It's deep in him.
Very deep. Learning from real forced living is powerful realization. I have to read it again. Simplicity of self-love and purpose is a finer path of living and giving. Would you like to respond to that, Holly?
I just love his insight because I can feel him connecting to the soul inside of him. That's what I call the core of a person, right? Like when you get to the center of you, I believe it's part of the soul that is here now. And it sounds like
Yes.
his vision and his how he sees the world is that way. And that's beautiful. I would also like to add to people, as we now know, I'm version 5.6. What I want to do and what makes me happy, although dancing is a constant in my life, of course, things
Mhm.
change. Of course, my needs change, and I want to offer that as well. In each
Mhm.
chapter of your life, where you put your energy, or even daily, has rhythm. I never say balance. I hate the idea. It's such a false claim. You can have balance. No, you have rhythm. I have chosen in my life to make myself very available to my family, because that is my priority, and I am able to, for my nuclear family, my husband and my child. That is exceedingly important to me. I
You
and
don't have
creating that.
balance, you have rhythm. I just want to capture these
Yeah,
gems. Rhythm.
rhythm, rhythm.
Oh, I am also an advocate not to move away from this balance thing, because the rhythm resonates more. I've never thought about rhythm because that's the vibration. It's the
Mm,
energy you're vibrating at. But I love the idea of work-life integration.
mm.
So integration is important for me in bringing all parts of ourselves, but the rhythm resonates quite deeply as well.
Now I'm seeing, because I know you're in South Africa, so now I'm imagining djembes in the back going dun, 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 dun. I've studied African dance for like 20 years, so I'm just saying. But that it's like, that's one of my favorite things, because that community is so earthbound, and it is rhythmic, and it is community, that when you are struggling, it's a place to go. There, I would like to talk to the people who are more like me for a moment. And I don't know if you were like this, but I have never been one who has a lot of friends, right? I have a few close friends.
Yeah.
I've had some wicked breakups with friends who I thought were so loving and whatever, but ended up not. So, right, there's that horrible saying that people are there for a season, a reason, or a life, whatever that. I hate that phrase, but it's true. And it is okay if you don't have a large group, because maybe that just doesn't work for you. So don't be envious of that. Just be proud that you know who you can trust close. Another thing I
Mhm.
help clients with, and you tell me this one too, is that not everyone needs to know all your business, right? Like, you can have this group of friends. Men do this really well. I have my sporting friends, I have my business associates, like, they're very compartmentalized. It doesn't mean that you're denying a part of yourself. It just means that those other people can't do everything,
Hmm.
and that it's
That's
up to
very wise.
you. Yeah.
The word that comes through for me here is discernment, you know,
Hmm.
and I think we can all practice discernment a bit better in our lives. And I certainly had to learn. I like what you call your starter husband or your starter marriage.
Yes.
I can't call mine a starter marriage because I was almost 23 years together and 18 years married.
Wow.
We are no longer together now, and I'm definitely having no relationships, because imagine being single, 3 kids, and still a partner. No, my life is full as it is. But I think your point is valid, is that we need to be discerning around who we share everything with. I don't know if you have this belief system around the evil eye, and
Mm.
not everyone is happy for us, and everything is energy. So when we're sharing so openly, you find that it does happen. I think in all the scriptures, in our Quran, I'm sure, whatever your scripture is that you follow, in all the holy books, I think it speaks to being discerning around who we share and be open with. So I think it's a wise decision, Holly. I only learnt it now in the later version 4 point series of
You're
my
halfway
life.
through. You're halfway. You've got plenty of time to enjoy it.
So So yes, so I want to come back to your TEDx. What
Mm.
was this TEDx talk about, and what
Mm.
compels you to want to share this message on the stage? Because you're an introvert, so
I
to go
am.
into that space was
I
bold,
did.
was
I can I
courageous.
be honest? It was not an experience I enjoyed. It was very. I loved my mentor, but I found the experience of it interesting. Very. It's like the military here, a Marine, they will break you down to build you back up, right? They do that. A TEDx speech, although I'm a prolific writer, how you write a TEDx speech is not how I think, right? And so they kept reordering things, and that bothered me. And our TEDx was done like in the round, so there was literally 2 feet, a meter between me and the front row. And
Wow.
yeah, thank you. So I knew people because I was so blessed that I had people come to see me speak. People I didn't know were coming, and one of them was in the front row, and I know him for over 20 something, like a very long time. And then he's making faces, making me, like trying to be supportive, but I am like, I cannot not see him. Right. So
Yes.
it was challenging for me.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to do a TEDx talk. I think I put it on my to-do list because I always have a goal. I'm that girl. I like to tick off boxes. Don't put me in a box. I'll smash it and dance on top of it. But I like to accomplish things. Oh, I did that. I did that. So for me, TEDx was about facing every single one of my fears about being seen. When I started like Instagram years ago, was it like 7 years ago? I am clearly an emotive person. I have a large personality. I like to move when I speak. I don't do it on purpose. It's just my face, whatever. When I first saw that on Instagram, I was horrified, and I could hear my voice and I was horrified. Remember, because I had always been someone behind the scenes. I was always
Yes.
helping you look good. So it's almost like I had too many voices in my head while I was trying to do whatever. Anyway, so I was like, I would love to do a TEDx talk. And I applied many times. And it was to face all my fears. It really was. It was to get on a stage and be on that dot and say something. And this time when I applied, I have this thing about I live in the South in the States. I'm very happy with my city. It's lovely. But the first question I'm asked everywhere I go is, so how many children do you have? And then it's followed with judgment. So, one. So you're one and done. Oh, one. How come you didn't have more? Why didn't you have more? You're such a good mother. You should have had more. Why don't you have more? It was never what do you do? Right. It was never, no matter what I might have accomplished. When I won a book award, when I won awards at Barnes and Noble, or I had my book published, I was so proud of this achievement because authors don't get paid all that much. Right. So like I won an award. This was spectacular for me. No, it wasn't about anything. It was just how many children do you have? So my talk was, I went through the historical truth of women's value. And like a lot of people love to still quote Confucius, but he didn't believe a woman had any worth. And she didn't even have a name until she had a son. And then she was the mother of the son's name. According to Confucius, the only good woman is an uneducated one. Right? So and throughout history and many cultures, like many religions and cultures, it was, it's the woman's job to have children. Obviously, that's what, our body does. But that was all they could do. You were defined by what you provided for your husband that way. Right. So I kind of historically went through that, and I had recently come back from my first trip to Korea. And there I was standing in these palaces and seeing the history, which is very different than US history, right? That multiple wives and all of that. And it just kept sinking into me. So my talk was about it starts with me talking about how one woman, we were at a business dinner for my husband, and she just was like, oh, I just can't stop getting pregnant. And I had just had another miscarriage. And it's not anything that I would vocalize, obviously. And she's
Yeah.
like, I just keep getting pregnant. And how about you? And why only one? And how come? And da da da. And I was like, 3 didn't stick. Because I couldn't take it anymore. I was just like, shut
Yeah.
up. And so that
Yeah.
was my talk. And I was like, what you can offer as another getting to know someone. And this question goes to knowing your core and knowing who you are and owning yourself is this. If you came with a warning label, what would it be? Because anyone who knows themselves can drop sarcasm, but someone who really doesn't know who they are, right? Who doesn't, or is not comfortable with themselves will kind of laugh awkwardly at that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or you'd go into the people pleasing state, because the part of your brain, when you're not in authenticity, you're in survival. So you in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. When you're moving into the thriving, more authentic, true essence of your beingness, you're not, you don't care. You're going to speak your truth. So whilst you were trying to face your fears doing this talk, you were also being in service to others, be it women or not even women, to come back to truth. Because we live according to these societal norms and constructs. Why? Because we want to feel accepted. Because we feel that if we don't show up in a certain way, we're not going to be part of, we don't feel like we will belong. And belonging is our innate need as human beings. So we want to feel like we belong or we need it. I just want to ask you one thing though. Did you expect, okay, so let me backtrack. So in terms of the talk, it was a power talk. It was a provocative and an evocative topic to share on that stage. So on the one hand, I'm facing fears, but I'm provoking and evoking emotion and thoughts and a new paradigm here, right? Because that's what you want to leave everyone with, a new script, a new narrative. How did your talk perform on the TEDx platform in terms of metrics? And is this a thing you're chasing? Because you spoke to earlier on as well, not needing to have X amount of followers or, chasing what I refer to as vanity metrics.
Yeah, so this is such an interesting conversation. I have really avoided speaking about my TEDx experience. My talk was emotional, and one of the notes I would get was when I was talking about my miscarriages in front of a group of people, I would get emotional. And they were like, stop. And I was like, not possible. I'm an emotional person. And I told you that during my interview that you would be getting all of that. So that didn't make me feel very safe, honestly, right? And metrics. I don't like how my talk was edited. In my experience, the location, although generous to let them use it, was not ideal. So there was no lighting, and camera was in one spot, off camera, basically off to the side. And unless I face camera, which made me not face the audience, which I refused to do. So they didn't like me. I was like, I'm here for the audience. They're like, you're here for the longevity. I was like, that's the opposite of me, right? So all of those pauses, they teach you where to take a breath, to let something land, are edited out of my talk. The talk I wanted to give was 2 minutes longer, and they harassed me and my mentor, who has done multiple TED Talks and whatever. So we cut it, and then I found out other people were extra long. So some things that I was really in love with aren't in it. So I'm on YouTube. Please watch it. I would love everyone to see it. I've
Okay.
gotten a little over 1,000, I think is my metric, which is quite humble, I suppose is the right word for.
Yeah.
I don't find TEDx that promotes them. I don't think energetically I was a fit ultimately with the people running my TEDx, right? So yet I accomplished it. So like it's very easy for my production brain, right? I worked in film and TV. I know what lighting should be. I know what sound should be. I know what X, Y, and Z. Like so I can get into the boss mode, right? The person in charge, that this wasn't what I would do and this is not how I would have done it. And I would have had a stage and I would have done this and blah, 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 blah. Right? I
Yeah.
have that. And I'm exceedingly still critical of myself. So
Holly.
so I'm aware of that. So people who were there and people who have seen it, and actually people that I trust who I don't know that well, they really like it. But it is not a talk that I'm seeing, that gets their attention. And I guess my answer to that is, so what?
I want to give you a hand of applause just because, you know why? Because it is never, you stepped into courage. That's your first win. Secondly, you were not there because of all the bells and whistles and the longevity. I like that. You were in your truth there. You came to speak truth and be in your truth. And I think that is so it's like it's not rated high enough, but it's about the brand and the association. I nearly never published my TEDx talk for similar reasons.
Ooh, let me hear.
So I want you to go and watch. No, this is not about me. So I'm going to just read some comments for
Now I'm
you.
like, wait, no, where is it?
I'll send it to you. We can exchange WhatsApp
Okay,
numbers
okay.
afterwards. But I can tell you now, I never published it almost because they left out my slides, the lighting, the audio, and I was like, but hold on. I did not do this for the production quality. I was here to bring a concept that I'm passionate about, that I had lived through, and that's the essence. And it took courage. I also don't like rehearsing. I told you at the start of our conversation, don't expect me to give you a set of questions. I'm going to flow with your energy and vice versa. I always tell that to my guests. But enough about me. I want to read some comments here for you because there are tons. Andre says, women's rights is still very young in our civilization. We can go back 80 years and women had no rights. Then he says, frequency that we vibrate at, that world vibrates at, and most importantly, universe at. And when all those frequencies find a rhythm in unity, equals bliss. I think he's using your language.
I love that.
And then Andre is engaging Ashif to say the movie Footloose is an exceptional example of that. 100% same with the Greeks and Romans. I'm not reading it obviously in the order. Ashif says we can't always choose the music life plays for us, but we can choose how we dance to it, rhythm and flow. Oh, goosebumps.
I got goosebumps on that one. Thank you.
So Tokozile says, I am really loving this session. As a recovering people pleaser, I would love a copy of your book, Holly, and some sessions, Anissa, to help me work through, please. Wow, I was sent here. Yes, we're so grateful to have you here because she's a very busy executive in the financial services industry. So grateful to have her here. Ashif says, inner ego is important for self-betterment and growth. Again, to the Instagram, I know you are there, but I'm sorry, I had to close it off. If there are comments, I'll go back afterwards. But this is a powerful session, and we have, I think, about 7 minutes remaining. I would love for you to, and there's another comment. Hold on, let's just honor this last comment. Yet now is emerging of women's strength is becoming the powerhouse of the world. Why? Because women had book clubs where they could express their challenges and emotions to each other versus men who always meet and have the alpha state of non-sharing emotions. Yeah, I get what he's saying there. With that being said, this has made women exceptional leaders in this world of madness. We love you, Andre. Thank you for that acknowledgement. But it takes somebody to be in their divine masculine and feminine to be able to share that type of feedback. That goes to Ashif as well as to Andre that has given those beautiful comments. Maybe we can talk about that, or is there anything you would like to bring to this conversation in the remaining 6 minutes?
Ooh,
What are
it's
you
so
burning to share?
open. I would like to say Who Wants to Read My Book? It's on Amazon all over the world. So if you want to get it, feel free, or find it on my website. I have links there too.
Honey,
I have,
honey, what we could do is after the live, you can just go back onto the original post and then put all those links in for us. So everybody watching can go back and get it there.
Excellent. I think I would like to leave with this, because I love self-improvement, but I think a sense of humor in life is quite important. So one of my favorite Holly's healing tips that I share is life's too short to wear uncomfortable bras or be in uncomfortable relationships. See, because every woman I know has these pinchy, pokey things, and it's around your heart. I want you to think about that. That is around your heart, and that's how you're treating yourself. And if you're not brave enough to throw a garment that doesn't fit you away, then what are you accepting in your life?
Yikes. To all the ladies out there, you must have felt that. Because when we get home after a hard day's work, what do we do? What's the first thing we do? We take off the bra. But like Holly says, why the heck do we need to sit with those uncomfortable bras anyway? What do you have for the gents? Come, let's make this even.
Okay, make this even. For the men, it's okay to be you. I think, especially in the States right now, there is an attack on men, right? But we don't have to put one down to lift another up. And how you are is good. And if you are feeling silenced or confused about what being a man is for you, then I really highly suggest you seek out information or commonality with other men.
Yeah. You know, that's quite an important topic, and I'm sure we could actually even have another podcast, you and I, and talking about that, because it's almost taboo for men to show up in their authentic selves. You know, they have to have the facade. I'm not saying women don't show up with these superficial masks, because they do, right? But for men in particular, it's a conditioning that's been around for centuries. And so this continues, it perpetuates the cycle. How do we then, who makes that start to break the cycle? Does it start with one man? Do they have book clubs like Andre says?
I think men bond differently. Like, they can have a hobby and feel safe with someone in doing a thing, and that makes space for conversation.
Holly, my almost 18-year-old son said to me, and I mean, I always share quite openly and vulnerably on this segment. Being a single mom is not easy, because your kids can only get so much from their mom. So they want something from their dad too. But I have a daughter who's 14, and then I have two sons. My youngest one will be 10 on the 30th of this month. And I was talking to my older one about being a bit more empathetic towards his sister, simply because she has a need from dad that she's not necessarily getting from an emotional perspective. Now, he's a wonderful dad to her nonetheless, but she desires to have more. And he said something to me, my 18-year-old, almost 18-year-old. He said, but men just bond differently. And dad and I have something in common. So they'll go and train together. So that they have a fitness thing that they do together. Whereas for her, there isn't that type of common ground to connect with. So what I'm hearing you say is we do communicate differently between men and women, but find something that has common ground that could create more meaningful connection with the opposite sexes and for same sexes.
Yeah, I also would like to say that you can't always get the way you want to be loved from someone. They just may not be capable. So for like your teenage daughter, what I would probably say to them is, especially because you said your ex, her father is loving and kind to her, right? So you
Yes.
can say, your father loves you very much, and this is how he gives love. What is it that you're missing? Are you jealous of something? And
Yes.
maybe find those words to help her communicate that. Because one of the biggest things I also help people with is they're just not honest. Right. So I am unhappy because, like, a lot of women will do acts of service or do a nice thing for someone that they are intimate with and love, hoping that the person will understand that that is what I want you to do for me. No. Hey, honey, I want maybe one of these 3 gifts as a birthday present. Then they're like, but the surprise is gone. But then you know he's demonstrating he heard you. He wants you to be happy, and he took action to do it. So we have to reframe that a little bit. You could say, I like surprises. These are the kind of surprises. So if you ever just feel like doing something for me, these are things I like.
Oh, that's powerful. So speak up, speak with conviction, share exactly what it is that you want and feel. Talk about what makes you unhappy. Don't go into these archetypal roles that we do go into, whether it's the hero, rescuer, savior, people pleaser in your relationships, and then you harbor resentment because what you desire is not being reciprocated. And have a language for it is what I'm hearing you say, and speak it from your heart, not from your head.
You have to be brave. I know you could do it, and you might fumble. It might not come out great. It might cause a slight argument, but ultimately that's growth.
And it's truth.
It's
and
true.
That's what's important. It's real, it's raw, it's authentic, and it's truth. And I'm an advocate for this too. So I think that's why we are connecting and vibing and resonating and be on this vibrational energy that is just like we've known each other forever.
I know.
So I'm grateful.
Me too.
So
Me too.
there aren't any more comments. So, and we are at the end of our live. While I'm looking for anything else, if I've missed it, is there any final comment you want to leave our audience with, and where can they find you, or will you just go afterwards and put it into the comments?
I'll do both. I am most active on Instagram, so Holly Hughes Intuitive. You will find me with no problem. And I think I love doing this. This is one of my new things that I've been doing, and I'd like to share this as a closing with you. I pray every night before I go to bed. I just have a little conversation with God. A lot of it is about gratitude. But after I do that, I say, I love you, Holly. And then I'm just quiet because I have learned to give myself the love that I give other people. And I hope that you do too.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I'm sure you can notice from what I captioned the segment, shifting from grudge is to move out of that resentment state. And I'm not referring to grit being from an egoic perspective, but having soft resilience, radically soft resilience, and giving ourselves grace. So I love that practice of prayer, but also giving yourself grace in that moment, in the same way that God's source, whatever you call it, is giving you grace in every moment. And saying I love you, people underestimate how hard that is. So if you can start small, I think that's the most sound advice that Holly has given. And we should all start practicing and cultivating that more in our lives, because you cannot live from a place of gratitude if there's no self-love, and you cannot give yourself grace. On that note, please stay with me, Holly. I normally have a short debrief, and I know it's your early morning and you're hopefully awake now. I'm going to end our live, but stay with me. Thank you, Ashif and Andrea, and everyone else that have commented, as well as those that are on Instagram and Tokozile. We hope to be in touch with you soon, and have a wonderful weekend. And until next week, we'll see you at the same time. Take care. Okay, so I'll end our stream.